Hello and welcome to another edition of Conservative Corner, based here in Newton, Mass. At the new TV studios. We have been doing the show for a very long time at the courtesy of the new TV studios, which I would have to say are probably the best cable access studios in the Bay State, and we will be continuing to do so and have a relationship with them for a very long time to come. We are a monthly talk show based here in Newton, and what we deal specifically with is things that, shall we say, are not covered by the mainstream media in this, the most liberal of states in the United States, and certainly based here in Newton, a very liberal city as well. We deal with issues that, shall we say, do not get enough press elsewhere because we are named Conservative Corner, so we focus on things from a conservative perspective. And we deal with local, state, and national issues, and we're very glad to fill that niche, so to speak, that is needed here in the Bay State. And when I say the Bay State is liberal, Massachusetts is liberal, well, we really are the most liberal state, sad to say, in that we have 9 congresspeople, all of whom are Democrats. Every statewide elected official is a Democrat. And both state legislatures and the state Senate and the state legislature are run by Democrats. Now, it wasn't always that way, but it is now. And politics changes over time, and we're hoping that at least on a statewide level, we will make a comeback again. However, given that reality here in Massachusetts, we cannot be forgetful of the fact that while, yes, we are a liberal bastion in the United States, we are really the only liberal bastion in the United States, given that we had really a tsunami, a tidal wave. Pick your own cliche, in that we, Republicans, have regained control of the House, the Senate, and above all, the presidency. We, for the first time, and I believe it is 120 years, control all 3 branches of government with a very supportive and friendly Supreme Court. And as Republicans, as conservatives, we couldn't be more thrilled. To that end, you may have heard that there was an inauguration recently. I was at that inauguration in Washington, D.C., and I have to tell you, it was beyond cold. It's almost as if the inauguration was held in Port Barrow on the north slope of Alaska. It was that cold. But nevertheless, myself, my guests, and many other people from the Bay State went down there, braved the elements, just so we could see our new president, Donald J. Trump, inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States. We were very happy to be there, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. So tonight we have a very special guest who is near and dear to us, and his name is Richard McGary. And Richard and I have a very long relationship in that I have known him since he was probably 6 years old. And I was his coach for several years, and I know his family very well. He went to school with my kids in the Newton school system, and having been his coach, I can attest to the fact that he is probably one of the best baseball players to come out of Newton in a generation or two. He was absolutely fabulous, and because I coached him on several teams, and my kids were on those teams as well, I have a whole bookcase full of trophies, in large part because he was on those teams, and we went to state finals, New England finals, et cetera, you name it. We were pretty much there. Now, as Richie graduated from high school, or let me backtrack for a little bit. Richie was in junior high when the September 11th bombings happened. And because Richie observed that and was deeply affected by that, what did he do when he graduated from high school? He immediately enlisted in the Marines. Now, this was not unusual for his McGary family. His uncle Craig, who graduated from Newton South, was also in the Marines in the first Gulf War. And his grandfather, Tom, who was the postmaster in Woburn in Newton, was also in the Marines, et cetera, and I'm sure we can go back many generations with Marines, with the McGarys, in serving the United States, our nation, overseas. Richie was deployed to Afghanistan in 2011, 2012 to fight the war on terror. And that's exactly why he signed up at the time after graduation, when most of his classmates went to college and most of them continued in a 4-year degree from college. Richie was out there in Kandahar province in the Hindu Kush, in one of the most insane places on earth, historically and otherwise, fighting the Taliban, fighting Al-Qaeda. And he came back and he learned a great deal there. And his service to our nation is one to be commended, and we thank him for that. He is and has been continuously active in Veterans Affairs, both on a local and a statewide level, and now on a national level. In recognition of his leadership in veterans activities, I had the privilege of appointing him last spring as the co-chair of Massachusetts Veterans for Trump. And Veterans for Trump was a very important segment of our campaign, because who were the ones who were supportive of Trump? But veterans. We had a lock on the veterans, so to speak. And Richie, again, I have to thank you for your service, and thank you for coming out for President Trump. So you were at the inauguration, as was I. And this was your first inauguration, I take it?
Yes, sir.
And how was it? Explain to the public. Now we're 3 weeks out from the inauguration, when this taping is happening now. Explain to the people at home what the inauguration was like for you as a first-time goer.
Well, Tom, words can never describe truly the experience that we had there. We did talk, you did cover about how cold it was out there, but you didn't feel the cold. Overall, I got to tell you, you met Democrats, Independents, Republicans coming together for the first time, embracing. I have some of the photographs that I've showed you previous to this.
Did you say Democrats?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Okay.
I know people that said,
I'm teasing you.
You know, we need to change it. I know we're teasing, but you are seeing a more unified United States right now, and it's already in the works. Myself, growing up, I was raised to believe in the democratic society, the liberal agendas.
Your family were Kennedy Democrats?
Of course. Well, not my family, more so about the school system that I was brought up in, to believe that the liberal way was the only way. I was kind of being pushed. So I did vote for Obama my first time. I know, may I admit it on the show, but it's something that I was learning. You know, I wanted to see the first black president. It was kind of an amazing feeling to see. But what I saw afterwards is what helped shape to where I am today. And that's one thing I'm learning, is we have a lot of work to do because of the setbacks that we have. But that being said, going back to the inauguration day, I got to tell you, it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. Before that, I saw a wreath laying ceremony for the first time ever. That was one of the most unique experiences.
And where was that?
That was at the Arlington National Cemetery. I got to tell you, that was probably one of the most honorable experiences of my life.
And that was the morning of the inauguration?
It was the day prior, the morning prior.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
And that being said, we walked in, we didn't know what was going on. They gave us a bus. I got a couple of passes to go to this event. I look over to the right of me, and I'm seeing all these people in dress blues, all these beautiful uniforms, and I'm seeing these amputees, short amounts of people. I'd say about 80 to about 100 people in total. But these people in dress blues, I'm looking over them like, oh my goodness, is that Dakota Meyer? A real life living hero in my lifetime. I get to see.
Who received the Medal of Honor
Correct.
in Afghanistan.
Every living Medal of Honor recipient was there that day.
Really?
I got to see my true heroes that are living superheroes that day. Mm-hmm. And the feeling that I got out of that was second to none. I got goosebumps sitting next to them. And when we started walking towards where the actual ceremony was going to begin, I look in front of me and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all these great haircuts. People well-dressed, well-groomed, very presentable. I noticed that none of them really had umbrellas over them, but these kids were getting pelted with these I think it started snowing, then it started getting sleet.
It did, yes.
These kids weren't complaining at all. And I go, oh my gosh, those are the Trump grandchildren.
Oh, really?
They were within 2 to 3 rows right in front of me. I'm sitting next to the future vice presidents and the future president's family right in front of me. And that right there was probably one of the most humbling moments of my entire life. And I, to this day, that's 36 years of my life. I got to get married, everything. I wish my wife was there that day, but I yet to ever have that feeling until I met my true.
And of course, the president and vice president were there?
Yeah, correct.
That's wonderful.
there's a photo going around on social media of the first wives, for the first ladies in presence, and I'm in the background of it. I'm looking over to the right, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, why am I in a photo with these amazing human beings? And somebody said to me the other day, they're like, you belong in that photo. And
well, you do.
Thank you.
And it's appropriate that you should be. Having served as a Marine in Afghanistan, the Vice President, J.D. Vance, of course, served. He was a Marine as well, was he?
Correct.
In Iraq. And so you should have been there. And we're very glad and proud that you were there. One of the disappointments, of course, is that the inauguration was held indoors, which means you and I were not able to go because it was limited to high government officials in the Capitol Rotunda. Now, and they had a secondary room with a big screen TV, and that was for the secondary government officials. So unfortunately, we were not able to get in there. But
Correct.
Had it been outside like it was 8 years ago, you would have witnessed a magnificent event. But the elements intervened, and so consequently, we had to have it indoors. And this was the first time in 40 years that it was held indoors. Of course, the inauguration in 1984, Ronald Reagan's second inauguration, was held indoors. So it was cold. And what's ironic, Richie, is that we had to come all the way from Boston to Washington to experience what is probably the equivalent of the Arctic Circle. And it was really amazing. But nevertheless, despite that, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. We waited for this for a very long time, for 8 years. And 2020 didn't happen as we had planned. I won't get into that. I already have in several broadcasts. But it didn't happen as we planned, so we had to skip that, so to speak. And so consequently, we were there. And it was really a historical moment in time. And we witnessed really the greatest political comeback in history by Donald J. Trump, greater than even Nixon in 1968, greater than anyone in living memory and certainly historical memory. And of course, we can point to the election of Grover Cleveland twice in, I believe, the 1880s, where he was defeated by Benjamin Harrison, came back and then defeated Benjamin Harrison. And there was as much controversy back then and polarization back then with the political parties as there are now. But still, this is really a remarkable comeback. And you know, I was speaking to one of our colleagues on the way in, Esther, who was the head of Jews for Trump. I said to her, what has happened in the past few weeks is really, it's hard to keep pace. It's mind-boggling because the Trump administration is moving faster than even we envisioned. Every day it's something else, or even every few hours it's something else in a good way. There's this executive order, this proclamation, one after another that's moving the country quickly in the direction that we want it to move. And of course that is for the U.S. to be self-reliant, a leader in the world again, a proud exporter of capitalism and our natural resources, gas, oil, you name it, and really to take its position of stature in the world, which we were losing continuously under the Biden administration, which we have now since regained in a rapid manner. And again, it's really hard to keep up with what has been going on with the administration. And the last time in 2016-17, when Trump was elected, he came into office with the idea that he was going to have shall we say, a coalition government, mostly with the establishment Republicans and with Democrats. Well, that didn't work out very well. It really didn't. And he's had 4 years in exile to learn from his mistakes, from what happened and what worked and what didn't work. And now he's adamant that we're going to move the country as quickly as possible in a very significant manner. And, you know, there are very few, he was the president before, of course, and he's president now. And this could be, based on what's happening now, and again, we're only 3 weeks into this, one of the most significant administrations in the history of the country. And I'm convinced that as time goes on, that in future generations will look upon Trump as one of the greatest presidents of all time. You know, one that could probably be up there in Mount Rushmore if everything goes according to plan and if he succeeds in doing so. So how do you feel about being a veteran, being a Marine, and campaigning for the president, and now you see that the president has won, and he's moving at a rapid pace to instill his policies in America.
It's an absolute honor. This is the most humbling experience, and thank you for appointing me as the chapter president. Unbelievable as a co-chair to Colonel Julie Hall, one of the most remarkable human beings I've ever met in my entire life. I would never have been able to meet her without you, actually, Tom. And her and I working together just to get veterans' perspectives. A lot of veterans were actually scared to speak up because they were afraid of losing their careers, their jobs, being canceled, just for the thought of supporting Donald Trump. Dare you say the word Trump in public, you were getting shamed for almost 3 years within a working environment. But the honor of actually becoming a part of history is second to none. Knowing that we have full support of, we have Democrats, independents, and Republicans again, working for the President of the United States right now as different secretaries. That's unbelievable. You don't see that anymore. You don't see people that actually want to work together to unify the country rather than divide it more. And that's what I feel our country needed the most. And that was to make the country a better place. Losing our true narrative of what we are, the world of opportunity, to come to the United States and thrive the right way, rather than skipping lines or just pushing people into a country, is what we're avoiding right now. But I think the golden era is here. It's right on our it's at our doorstep right now. It's knocking at a faster pace than I ever imagined. Within 1 month, I've never seen moving parts like this. I've never seen our country making the adjustments that it needed to so rapidly. I think the right people are seated. I think they're ready to roll. They've been ready to roll for 4 years. They're prepared. They have a mindset. They have a track. Look how much money we've already saved as a country. That's taxpayer money. That's our money being stolen from us and given to other nations. I think I saw Sesame Street on there in Iraq. We can make a joke about that all day, but at the end of the day, I get it. Other countries do need help, but the only way to help them the best is to become the best again. It's like any relationship. You got to fix yourself before you fix others. And right now, we need to repair ourselves before we...
You know, Richie, yesterday I saw the interview with new Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
Yes.
And he was talking about, the interviewer asked him about military recruitment, because in the Biden administration, military recruitment was way down by the tens of thousands. They couldn't meet the numbers. No. And he said, and he almost laughed, and he said military recruitment is through the roof. It's in the stratosphere. In terms of the recruitment has come back dramatically. People are signing up for the armed services. And this did not happen under the Biden administration because it was recognized that the Biden people were very unfriendly and unsupportive of the military. Now, with this new defense secretary and this new president, you are seeing a return to, shall we say, pride in the military, that the military will have a foremost position in the United States and on the world scene again. Are you seeing that as well?
I'm seeing more than just that. It's not like Donald Trump's asking for a push for us to join. People want to join. That's the difference. And if I could sign that, if I could go to MEPS right now and sign up again, I would. I would do it all over again.
What's MEPS?
MEPS is the Military Processing Center. I would go there, take my ASVAB again, and just do it all over again if I could. I really would. Unfortunately, the Marines don't like 36-year-olds too much right now. But that being said, the standard, keeping up with a 20-year-old is a little more difficult than it used to be.
Richie, let me tell you, once you've served in Kandahar province in Afghanistan, as you did, you don't need to do anything more for this country. Let the young whippersnappers do it. The 18 and 19-year-olds do it. You've served, you've been there, and your service is much to be acclaimed. It really is. So nevertheless, you're serving your country in other ways. And in the ways that you're doing it, you are an adamant volunteer for all types of veterans activities, services around the Bay State, and now in a national level. And you've recently been appointed to another position.
Yeah, that's the America First Veterans, the new chapter president for Massachusetts.
That's wonderful.
It's a dream come true. The team that I have is amazing. The most welcoming, most diverse. You have, oh my gosh, we have about, I think, 10 states now covered. We're working up the East Coast right now. We have Texas in there. An amazing mother. Her name's Stephanie. Her son's a Marine in Texas. She just joined our team actually after the inauguration. We all met down there. We have people that are volunteering to join our community. what we want to do is be advisors to our nation's heroes. We want to be advisors to the veterans that are just coming home, being ready for them. But we want them to have a sense of urgency. They have a role. Like J.D. Vance, our vice president right now, he's a corporal in the Marines. You can do almost anything. Think about that. As a corporal in the Marine Corps, I can be the vice president, or I can be potentially the next president. That is such a humbling experience. Like, think about that. You got such an opportunity there. We got to be able to push veterans forward, give them that encouragement that they need to say, hey, we can make a difference. We've seen what the world is like outside of here and what's looking out at us, what doesn't want us here anymore. And that's what we're trying to engage in our communities, is try to make the difference of letting people know in a polite way, not scaring people, what we have waiting out there.
You know, Richie, just as an inauguration anecdote, so the lines to get into the inaugural balls are very long, and it was freezing. It was almost 0 degrees with the wind. So I'm waiting in line, and I was at least dressed for the weather. But many people were not. They were wearing tuxedos and gowns, and they literally had paramedics and ambulances taking people out because it was so cold. But there were a lot of military people in line as well, with their dress uniforms and, you know, looking as great as they could be. And they didn't even flinch. I mean, they were dressed like it was the middle of May, and they didn't even flinch. But it's such a, it's you know, it's a testament to the stamina of these people that they never complain, wouldn't whine about anything. And here, the rest of us are there, literally shivering, you know, like we're in the tundra. But so you went to the one of the inaugural balls, and which was it?
I actually went to two,
which was
fantastic. I went to the first one was the America First Veterans Ball.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, got to meet Vivek. We had Rubio
Vivek
there.
Ramaswamy.
Yeah. Oh my
Marco
goodness.
Rubio, the
Secretary. The
Secretary
second they
of
walk
State.
in the room, people will flock
Yes.
over to them. I'm not one of those types of people. However, if they want to come over, we give them space. They're not animals, right? They're making changes in our country, and they're doing amazing changes. We had our Congresswoman from Colorado there.
Lauren Boebert.
Lauren Boebert. She's
a big supporter of the military.
Not just that, her heart is there. Her heart and her mind are there,
Yes,
and
indeed.
she really does care about us the most.
We tried to visit her. Mrs. Mountain and I went to her office when we were in Western Colorado a few years ago, and we really wanted to see her, but she wasn't there at the time. I believe she was in Congress in Washington doing her thing, but we made an effort, certainly.
She's very vibrant also. She's very approachable, easy to talk
Certainly.
to too, so please don't hesitate. The second ball that we went to was the Liberty Ball.
I was there. I didn't see you.
Unfortunately, there was thousands. I think it was 15,000 people at that.
You know, there were thousands, but it was at least manageable. In other words, it wasn't a mob scene like you would see at the Super Bowl.
No.
It was manageable, and the food was actually good. You just had to, and for someone who likes to eat, as the viewers can tell, that's important. But you still had to go through the long lines to get in. But it was really a wonderful event. And, you know, I'll never forget, and this was the second day in a row through the inauguration that I saw, the Village people. Now, you're a youngster, so, but the Village people were very big when I was in high school in the late 70s. And I didn't expect them to be there for the first Trump rally / concert the day before the inaugural ball. And there they were right on stage, and I had prime seating right on the floor, and they came out dancing away and doing the thing. And then they came in the next day, and I got close, and all I can think to myself is that this is the liberals' worst nightmare. They're from the most liberal state, California, from the most liberal city, San Francisco, and they're openly gay. And they're supporting Donald Trump, the conservative Republican president of the United States. And I thought, if you're a liberal sitting watching this, you're going to have a meltdown watching the Village people supporting Donald Trump. But it was absolutely amazing. It was wonderful. And the crowds that were at the inauguration, even though the lines were tough and the crowds were very, you know, compacted at times, there was so much joy and civility and goodwill. Nobody was pushing and shoving. Everyone was respectful of everyone else. And, you know, the interesting thing is, because it was so cold and frigid, the protesters didn't show up. They're such wimps, they wouldn't brave the elements.
I don't think there's that many protesters anymore either.
Well, no, there are. However, in the last inauguration, they did show up, but they weren't here this time. And it's almost a disappointment because we like to see how the crazies are, you know, with their purple and green and orange hair. and they're screeching and this and that, but they didn't show up this time. You know, they represent, of course, the fringe of America. But we were very happy and content with where we were and the fact that we were there. And I may go to the next inauguration if God willing and another Republican gets in. But right now we have to focus on the here and now, as Donald Trump is, and the here and now is changing our country back to the way it was and has been for really generations. And after we took a very wrong turn with the radical left-wing element of the Biden administration, and now we're trying to right the ship, and the ship, I think, has been, shall we say, righted, if my English is correct, excuse my grammar. And what's interesting is things happen quickly in that the wheels, the changes in administration, it happens like night and day. You change the chapter, you change the page, and now we're on to a new administration. Then we can forget about the old one, and I'm determined on this show never to talk about the old administration again. We're going to talk about the current administration and where we're going. Of all the cabinet picks and agency picks, who are among your favorites?
Oh my goodness, by far right now, I hate saying this, it's not just Hegseth. Everybody would assume that it's actually going to be the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Doug Collins.
Okay, that's a name that isn't familiar to many of us.
Yes, he's a retired Air Force officer. He's done already remarkable work this week. I think he saved millions of dollars already at the Veterans Affairs, calling out Politico, actually, as of yesterday, right before the Super Bowl. I'm like, what? He's not watching the Super Bowl. He's watching what he's doing for work. He's been broadcasting the first day, every day, letting us know, hey, I'm here, and I'm here to do work and work together to make a better community for veterans.
You know, Richie, one thing that we're seeing is that there's been so much focus on the, quote, migrants, i.e. illegal immigrants, really at the expense of people who matter to us, and those are Americans, but foremost of whom are the veterans. And the veterans have long been neglected in our country, and we have to shift from this mindless mentality of helping illegals in this country, which we have, to focusing on the veterans. And that's really what the American public wants us to do, because there are so many tens of thousands of veterans who are in need of our help. And private organizations like yours have helped them for years, and we need to move forward with this. This is the fastest 30 minutes in cable access TV. So what would you like to say and to tell your fellow Bay State Republicans or just your fellow citizens about what they can expect from and with the Trump administration?
Right now, within the Trump administration, expect the changes that we've been waiting for, that we deserve, that we are going to move forward together as a country, that we're going to move forward. Yes, we're going to welcome immigrants. We are eventually going to welcome them in, and you are ready for them. We've been ready for them. It was a matter of doing it the right way. It's a matter of doing it the patriotic and American way. We will always welcome a family here that needs help. The problem is skipping in front of an entire family that's been waiting for 6 months to a year. My wife is a Brazilian immigrant. I know firsthand what it's like.
Mine is an Israeli immigrant, so we're both married to immigrants.
Wow. And we're blessed. Look at what we have in our lives. And at this point, I just want to say we have America to look forward to.
Excellent. Thank you, Corporal Richard McGary, United States Marine Corps. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate
Absolute pleasure, Tom.
your being with us today.
I'll be here to hear what's on your mind. Take this time to talk and get it right. You know I'll be there all your life. When you need me, I'll be by your side. By your side. And every day is a different day. Everything isn't everything. Even when you think things could never ever be the same, don't be scared of the world, I'll be here to stay. By your side. Even when your heart ain't listening, or your mind takes you a different way, towards a different path, all you gotta do is sit and ask. When you need me, I'll be by your side.
When the adults in a child's life talk early and often about the dangers of underage drinking, the message gets stronger every time.
I'll be by your side.
Talk. They hear you.